came out here about 45 minutes ago. Sorry, sun's right in my eyes. I'm going to do my best. Please bear with me. And my daughter's baby shower is today, so I felt a little rushed. And I filmed it, and then I came back and I was editing it. And strangely, what this video is about happened to me in that moment. You know, God is not the type of God who says things for no reason. Ever. Everything He has shared with us has purpose. It's to prepare us. It's to prepare us for a life with Him. It's to prepare us to help advance the kingdom of heaven. It's to prepare us to survive in the midst of ravenous wolves. This is all He prepares us for. Everything in this Bible, from the beginning to the end, is about advancing the kingdom of heaven here on earth as it is in heaven. And there's something that, we've gone through these parables for the last month or so, and as we've gone through these parables, what we're finding is that, He's saying heaven is like this or heaven is like that, and it's mostly about you and what it is you're doing to advance the kingdom of heaven. But then when He's done with the parable of the talents, the parables stop, and what's about to happen is more reality than you might realize, because He's not speaking in parables anymore. That ceases to exist. Matthew 25, verse 31. When the Son of Man comes in His glory and all the holy angels with Him, then He will sit on the throne of His glory. All the nations will be gathered before Him, and He will separate them one from another as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. If you look at everything He talked about in this conversation, if you go all the way back to Matthew 24, verse 1, from 24, verse 1, He goes alone to be with the disciples. It's just Him and the disciples having this conversation. There's not a crowd, nobody around, just Jesus and His disciples. And they ask, well, how will we know when the kingdom of heaven is coming? How will we know when your second coming is arrived? And He says, here's some events you're going to see take place. When you see these events take place, these are some signs. But then He gets into parables. He gets into the parable of the fig tree. He gets into the parable of the evil and wise servants. He gets to the parable of the wise and foolish virgins. He gets into the parable of the talents. And all these parables are to show us what it's going to be like when He returns. They're all designed to show the same thing. For 2 chapters, this is one conversation. And that's where everybody falls apart, is they'll grab pieces of this conversation and they'll think they know what it means. But it's one conversation. It's all about the exact same thing. It's about His second coming, saying, here's how you'll know, and here's what you should be doing. Here's how you know, here's what you should be doing. Here's a parable to show you how you'll know. Here's a parable to show you what you should be doing. Here's a parable that's going to show you how I'm going to judge when I return. It's all about preparing you for that second coming. And what we're finding here is now he's very serious. Now all of a sudden it shifts to when the Son of Man, and when I return and I sit on my throne, I'm going to separate some to my left and some to my right. This is how all this plays out, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that complicated here. Sorry, I think I'm drifting into, there's a fisherman over here. I think I'm drifting into their little path there, but we'll see how it goes. The separation of the sheep and the goats is something we're going to spend a little time talking about. And a lot of people, when we talk about the separation of the sheep and the goats, because we've done that a lot on this channel, especially through Revelation. And what we're finding is when you talk about the separation of the sheep and the goats, most people are fearful. Most people think, oh, I haven't done enough, or I haven't, this. You'll know. You should know right now. If the Spirit says, hey, go do this thing, and you hear it, and you listen to it. And maybe you don't do it right away, but it still pokes at you. And eventually you think, I better go do that thing. Then you're good. Like, that's all he's asking of you, is that when you are filled with the Spirit and it pokes at you, you say, okay. You know, and I keep reflecting on these little videos here. You know, this isn't, I mean, I don't want to say it's not hard, because it's hard to get out of the water every day and then film and edit. And this is just how I begin my day. You know, then I get to work. But it's not necessarily sacrificial, or it's not costing me anything. I enjoy doing it. Not everything is a sacrifice. Not everything costs you money. Not everything costs you. It's sometimes the Spirit just says, go do this thing. Rarely ever does the Spirit tell me to spend money. Most of the time the Spirit tells me to go do something. Pardon me, I'm going to move my boat real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I think I'm back for a little bit. Sorry about that. Try to block the sun with my head there. Sorry. It's a boat. It drifts. It goes where it goes. But that's all he's asking you. That's all. You know, this new section of chapter 25 he's getting into is, it's real. It's not a parable. Very, very real. A lot of reality behind it. It's literal. When he says he's going to separate some to his left and some to his right, and cast some off into outer darkness and some enter into the joy of the Lord, it's not a parable. It's literal. And all the parables are about this. Like, he kind of gave you some examples. It's how he talks. He kind of says, well, it's kind of like this. And now that you get that, here's what it looks like. That's what this is like. But now this is what it is going to be like. Like, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. He will sit on his throne in the temple in Jerusalem, and he will separate some on his left and some on his right. And in order to be on the right side of things, all you have to do is, when the Spirit pokes at you, just listen to it and try to be obedient. You know, even if you think of yourself as a kid, you know, before you were a teenager, you know, when you were maybe just slightly rebellious, but you still feared your parents, you still obeyed them. You might resist a little when they told you to do something, but generally you're going to do it, and they'd say, good job. It's all the Spirit's asking of you. Be like a little child. Be like a little child is all he's asking you. When I ask you to do something, you know, I know there's some resistance. You're human. But then you do it. And I don't know if you saw the videos yesterday. You know, I don't know whether you watched all these or it's your first one. But it all comes down to, he has given you everything. He has been there for you from birth on. He has disciplined you perfectly. He has given you the shelter that you have over your head. He has given you the food that has filled your belly. And all he asks for in return is that you just love him back. He's your Father. He's more than just a God. He's your Father. And that's all he's asking of you. And this thing, this separation of the sheep to the goats, this is literal. There's a point where this testing ends and the reality of it all begins. And that moment that we're at now, the testing has ended and the consequences begin. There is no more test at that point. Once it returns, that's it. There is no more testing. There's no, well, I tried, or I should have done this, or that's it. You got what you got. And now you got to face the consequences. But if you're just being like a child, and when the Spirit tells you to do something, you maybe resist a little, but then you be obedient because you fear your Father. That's all he's asking of you. That's it. Literally. Hope these videos are helping. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Go call to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. The most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns. Okay, the reason I believe I'm back out here is because it felt rushed. And that's not what this is. And literally, as I was sitting there, the Holy Spirit was poking at me to get back out there. And I resisted. But here I am. So I don't know, God does funny things in funny ways, but that's what this is. It's exactly what this is. And maybe this is just a silly example to show whoever's watching this that, just because you said no doesn't mean you can't put on the brakes and turn around and go do that thing. It's important you listen to the Spirit. I don't know why I'm back out here. I don't really know what to say. I kind of thought, well, I'll just say the whole thing over again, but that's not it, because I believe what I said was what I was supposed to say. It just felt rushed to me, and he deserves more than that. And then the Spirit told me, well, you're right. Now get back out there. And I don't know. I do know maybe it's about he just wants to spend time with us. Maybe it was really the message was fine. But it's almost like if you're hanging out, if your kids come to visit you, and after they have a conversation that you told them to come have, like let's say they wanted to borrow money, or they wanted to talk to you about some advice or whatever it may be, and they came to your house, as soon as that conversation wrapped up, they just said, well, I'm out of here. And that's what I did today. So here I am back out here. Listen to the Spirit, ladies and gentlemen. Just listen to it. It's a good helper. It's not going to steer you wrong. Ever. Ever, ever. Don't forget to send in those prayer requests.